October 25th, 2010. I was lying in a hospital bed with my knee propped up. I had just gone through anterior cruciate ligament surgery, most commonly known as ACL reconstruction. After tearing up my knee in my first varsity start at quarterback, I was soon demoralized 5 minutes into the game. High hopes for the season went down the drain. 61 midnight, coach called. It was an option play, where I could give the ball to the fullback or run it myself. I would have never guessed it was going to be one of the biggest decisions of my life. I decided to keep the ball and began running up the middle. About 4 or 5 yards later, I was stood up by the linebacker, and the defensive lineman rolled underneath me. However, my foot remained planted to the ground, and my knee was extended much too far to the inside of my body. The loudest pop I have ever heard in my life came from my knee. So many thoughts were running through my mind. I didn't know if I should get up and walk it off, lie on the ground and have a trainer look at me before I get up, or simply just have somebody help me up and play on like nothing happened. Option 3 seemed like the best idea at the time anyway. I called over my defensive lineman. "Hey, come help me up real quick," I shouted. He then ran over and gave me a hand. I got up as soon as I could and tried to walk. I fell back onto the ground. The worst pain I've ever felt forced me down to fall over while screaming my lungs out in pain. "What is that? What is it? Where does it hurt? Did you hear it pop?" The first 3 questions that came out of my trainer's mouth were just that. I remember very vividly gripping tightly onto the head coach's hand and my lineman's hand, and the trainer examined my knee on the field. All 3 carried me off the field before that, being that I could not put any pressure on my leg. I was in the examining room when Dr. Specka, the team doctor, walked in and started to move my knee into different directions, analyzing the problem. "It's not good," he said. He then began to tell me how certain he was that my season was ultimately over. Once I heard that, I completely zoned out. I was in my own world of thought, reflecting on all the hard work I had put in to be a starter. My season was over? I didn't want to believe it. Dr. Specka then kept going on about how I needed to get an MRI as soon as possible. My cousin, who had torn up his knee during his high school career, was also in the room with me and was worried as I was. He had heard all before as well. It wasn't before long until I was laying in my bed at home conversing with loved ones. Everyone there knew how hard I had worked to get to where I was. They showed me great love and support. They kept reminding me that I was going to come back even better than before. At the time, I just didn't want to hear it. I was too worried about this year and the fact that I let my team down. The family was over for quite some time before they left. Once they left, I got on Facebook to see what people were thinking and to see if anyone had talked about the game. I only came to find over 30 notifications. Over 30 people had posted on my wall about the injury and how sad they were to see it happen. I know people say these type of things to make you feel better, but it only makes me feel worse. I really felt like I left the community and my high school down. Everyone was looking forward to this year, and that was the reason it all came crashing down. They finished that year 3-6 and not make the state playoffs. What was next for me? I came to find the next 6 months of my life was going to be a grueling task. After the MRI, the doctors came to a conclusion that I had torn my ACL and MCL. Before they could perform surgery on the ACL, they needed to wait for the MCL to repair on its own. That alone took 5 weeks in itself. Once that healed, they could then reconstruct my ACL. It was a successful surgery followed by 6 months of rehabilitation. So for 5 days a week for the next 6 months after school, that is what I would do. Go into the trainer's room in an attempt to strengthen my knee for the upcoming season. When that concluded, I was ecstatic. I had never been more ready to play a sport. It was finally here. The first game of my senior year and my comeback game. There was a lot of anticipation from a lot of people. After a good first half, we still found ourselves trailing by 10. As a team, we were ready to attack and win the game. It wasn't longer than 2 minutes into the second half until I found myself in an all too familiar situation. I was lying on the ground calling for help in severe pain. Once again, all my hard work disappeared right before my eyes. The moral behind the story is, no matter how many times you fall, you need to get up once more. You have to get back up and go after it again. Everything happens for a reason. If that wouldn't have happened to me, I wouldn't be here to tell you my story.